Good afternoon, Tim Marshall here, in this strange time, although 2 o'clock is quite civilised. I should start by saying huge thanks to the Four Indies, Lingham's Booker Forum and Bookish. Indies are, like the rest of us, having a difficult time of it, I think, and come Monday, when many of them will reopen, I hope we can mask up and socially responsible browse the shelves again. So again, thank you to Lingham's Booker Forum and Bookish. Support your local bookshop. Got about half an hour on this. Hopefully some chats. There have been a couple of questions that have come in already, and I particularly like the first one, which is writing a children's book. Was it always your plan? No, absolutely not. It never entered my head to write a children's book. I didn't think I was capable of writing a children's book, but we had the Prisoners of Geography, the grown-up version, 5 years ago. Sold more than 1 million copies, and I was at a book festival in Cheltenham, and a young woman came up to me to get a book signed, which was nice, and she said, "I always hated geography at school." And I said, "Yeah, me too." And she said, "But now I'm studying it at Bristol Uni. And the reason I'm doing that is because I read Prisoners of Geography." Oh, that is what you call high praise. And I relayed this story to the guys, my publishers, Elliot and Thompson. And from the conversation came this idea, well, why not try to inspire a younger generation? And it's like a light bulb moment. Yeah, of course. And then, illustrated. Yeah, of course. And, well, we have the result, and I love it. I love it because of the drawings. Grace and Jessica just did a fantastic job. So it was never a plan, but once it became a plan, it was executed, and I think quite well. Another question was it hard to write? Yes and no, which is a terrible answer. No, insofar as that I had the research pretty much done from the previous book, and I think the yes bit, the challenge was to always try to put myself in as if you were 12 years old. So you write a sentence boiled down from the grown-up version, and then you think, would that speak to me? Would I understand it? Is it boring if you're 12? And I took the leaf out of the book that the virtual book I'd written myself during my career as a journalist on television. Whereas I tried not to speak in Latin or French on television because I was broadcasting to an English language audience. For example, I remember shouting at the telly, as we increasingly do these days, when an economics editor said laissez-faire economics. Now, I happen to know what laissez-faire economics means, but I still don't think you need to speak French during your news broadcast when there will be many people that won't understand it. So I took that approach to the writing, and that was challenging, and it was challenging to try and get all the stuff down and boil it down without without it being too much boiled down and too simplistic, because then you run into the risk of actually boiling it down so much that you lose any meaning and certainly any nuance. So that was the challenge. Questions. Where did the interest in geography and the world come from? How long have you got? There were 3 formative experiences, I think, as a child. One, I was only 9. And for whatever reason, a 9-year-old, I was watching the news, and it was the funeral of Martin Luther King, which dates it to 1968. And despite being 9, I was absolutely gripped. And of course, as part of the coverage, they played the "I Have a Dream" speech, and I was just captivated. And that got me interested in some things. The following year, from distant memory, I heard the BBC recordings of the D-Day landings. Their reporter on the beach, and in my naivety thought, that sounds like fun. I mean, obviously you learn that sort of thing isn't fun, but it was exciting. And then the last one was the most sobering, perhaps, when I was about 12, and I saw footage from Auschwitz. And as a 12-year-old, it's sort of, oh. And then you read around that and it's double O. In fact, it's interesting. In Israel, I think in their education system, I don't think they teach, they never mention the Holocaust in an educational fashion, I think, until children are 12, because emotionally you're not ready for that. So those three things sort of lit a spark, and from that, hopefully you were on fire. Oh, hello, Forum Books. Thank you very much. Forum Books, we love both versions, but the children's one is just. And there it finishes. Yes, I think it is just. It's very just. I'm sure we've lost something there, but hopefully it's just brilliant. That would be nice. Certainly the drawings are. Alice Hawkins. Hi, Alice. My nephew was reading Prisoners of Geography for his A-level history course, assuming that's the non-illustrated one, although there are lots of maps. I saw it and had to buy it, and I've now given it as a present to more people than I can remember. That's why it sold more than 1 million, because of you, Alice. Thank you very much. It's such a brilliant book. Thank you. I would like to click likes and replies, but a lot of stuff going on. Oh, At Home With, welcome to. Thank you. Jane Chance. Hi, Jane. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Leslie Burnett. Love the way you have distilled complex ideas to make them accessible to a younger audience. Yeah, I mean, that absolutely was what it was all about. I mean, I think the adult grown-up books that I've written, I also try and do that, because I don't think you need to use the language of the high priests, no matter what subject you're in. And academia, I mean, they talk to each other in their own language, which is fine because they understand their own language. But I don't think you need to use that language if you're then writing for what you try to be an accessible book for an audience that isn't academic. So thank you. Emily Hogan Turner says hello. Hello, Emily. Next question. How easy or hard was it to decide on 12 maps, and what would have been number 13? Yeah, and 14 and 15. It wasn't that hard in a way, because you're trying to get across some concepts, and one of the concepts is of Prisoners of Geography. So for me, it was obvious Russia's got to be there, because it's one of the simplest ones to explain. Flat ground in front of you. Your history shows you keep getting invaded through that flat ground. Consequently, you will seek, as the Russians, to dominate the flat ground. If it happens to be called Poland, from the Russian perspective, that's not their problem. It's Poland's problem, but they will seek to dominate it. They always have done, and for the foreseeable future, they will continue to try and dominate that flat ground. So Russia and places like China, I use the big examples, USA, China. Actually, Australia isn't in there, but that's a work in progress. Oh, number 13. Yeah, I kind of wish I had done Australia, because I've been doing a lot of reading on it recently, and how its geography has determined, and I use the word advisedly, I'm not a determinist. I think geography is only one of the factors about why things happen. It's just the one that gets overlooked, and if you don't understand it, I don't think you get the full picture. But yeah, geography has been Australia's demographics is absolutely shaped by its geography. There's a great satellite photo from night time, looking down at Australia, and you see where the lights are, and you see that this vast continent with only 25 million people in it, and they're just, I think 85% of them are huddled on the coastline, and the reason for that is water. Geography teachers are traditionally fond of corduroy trousers. Do you wear cords? Well, I confess to having a tutu on and some Wellington boots, which is the beauty of virtual chats. No, I've never knowingly worn corduroy. I have been known to wear lycra, but always covered it up with something else. But no, corduroy. Oh, and speaking of geography teachers, no offence, I also have never knowingly worn, nor do I know anyone who has worn one of those tweed jackets with the elbow patches, also beloved, I'm told, of geography teachers. Oh, thanks. Oh, Leslie. Oh, Graham. No, Michael. Sorry, Michael Graham. Hi, Michael. Hi, Tim. Really enjoyed all your books and your column in Geographical magazine. Thanks, Michael. That's just started about 3 or 4 months ago. I was quite honoured. Geographical magazine offered me a shortish column for their magazine, which is it was quite an honour. Thank you. Several of my A-level students have had a light bulb moment when reading POG, as we call it, or POG, and are now off studying geography at uni. There you go, you see, that's the highest praise after the royalty check. No, other way around. That's the highest praise. So thank you for passing that on, Michael. Any new books in the pipeline? Might be. Yes. Forum Books. Where are you, Tim? I don't know, what year is it? Who's the president? I'm in what I call the corridor of power. It's called the corridor of power because it used to be a corridor. It actually used to be a bedroom, and now it is a corridor leading up to a loft extension. So I laughingly call it my office, but in fact it is a corridor, but it's the corridor of power. I did take an office, myself and a friend called Adrian Childs, who you may have heard of. We rented an office about 2 weeks before lockdown started. So that was a good investment. I'm hopefully going back there in a few weeks and give people here a bit of respite. Lingham's Bookseller. Hello, Tim. Thank you for this. Thank you. Forum Books. I'm currently wearing cords. There's nothing wrong with wearing cords. I'm sure you're over the age of 18 and you are a consenting adult. Ian Mack, or Muck. Sorry, I don't know which way it is, Ian. MC Ian, as he's known. Hi, Tim. Read the book after a visit from Sakur, Supreme Allied Commander Europe from memory. Top General in NATO, visited our HQ. He was asked why Russia acts the way it does and why do we put up with it. And he answered, put yourselves in Putin's shoes geographically. If you're struggling to do that, see more. No. I have seen more, sorry. If you're struggling to do that, then read this book. Cool. Read all the others since. Need a new one. Working on it. Hold your breath till next spring, if you can. Forum Books say smash the stereotypes. I agree with you, Forum Books. Carrie Morris. Hello, Tim, from All at Booker Bookshop. Thank you very much. And as I scroll down, I get dangerously close to end live video. So if there's any abrupt cut for this, you'll know why. KTM Spinks. Hi, Tim. Glad you have plans in the works for Australia, as I've been wondering about this. One of the really fascinating minutiae facts I came across, there was, I forgot his name, but I've made notes. There was a geographer in the 1920s in Australia, and he headed, I think, the geographic department at Sydney University. And he was actually on Scott's last voyage, obviously not in the tent with him, otherwise he wouldn't have made it back, but he was. Anyway, he predicted in 1920-ish that the population of Australia by the year 2000 would not be above 20 million. And he was almost on the nose. And he was hounded in academia at the time and by the politicians and the newspapers because they felt this was not patriotic, because Australia had these visions of trying to do what America had done, you know, sea to shining sea. And they'd grown this, leave to one side the manner in which it was done for the moment. America had done it, and by that time probably had a population of a couple of 100 million. But he said because of the geography, it's not going to happen. And this was felt to be anti-patriotic. But in fact, the population of Australia, even now, I think it's around the 25 million mark. And again, it goes back to water. You simply can't exist. And you certainly couldn't have large urban areas in Australia. So yeah, that's the sort of thing I'm looking at the moment. Forum Books, don't end just yet. Doing my best. Yasmin Barat. Hi, Yasmin. Hi, Tim. I'm an NQT geography teacher. Just completed my ITT year. Congratulations. Loved POG so much that I bought the kids' version for my son. He can't read properly yet, but loves the maps. I like that. Thank you, Yasmin, because yeah, what he's going to get already from that is the shape. he will immediately, when he's older and he's leafing through, you'll see the outline of X, call it Australia, and bang, you know where it is that you're talking about, and you know where things are in the world. So it's a good start. Hannah Stentiford. Hello, Hannah. Your excellent books, Age of Walls. Are you coming in from America? Here it's called Divided, Why We're Living in an Age of Walls, and in America they published it as Age of Walls. Age of Walls, Divided, Shadow Play, that was about the Kosovo War, and A Flag Worth Dying For, which is also the American version, are all excellent. Have you got any more geography-related books in the pipeline? Yes, I have. Working on it now, and I am trying to strip it back again. I mean, Divided and the one about flags are rooted in identity and nationalism, and trying to look at the driving factors on our emotions, which is partly what Prisons of Geography is about. But yeah, I'm trying to strip it back again to geographical reasons for things happening, whilst not losing sight that it is not the only factor. I had some fantastic reviews of POG when it first came out, but there were one or two people who said perfectly legitimate and reasonable criticisms of it, but there were also one or two, and they tended to be in academia, that said, oh, this is too deterministic. You're saying that everything happens because of geography. And despite saying, I think it was between 5 and 7 times in the book, I said, it is not the determining factor, it is a determining factor. And all the geographers watching now will know that if you don't understand the geography of a country, you cannot understand that country, and certainly not why it does what it does. Sarah Patel, hello Sarah. Which country do you find most interesting and why? Well, that's. I mean, there's different places I find interesting for different reasons. I mean, I'm very interested in Italy, but that's primarily because of food and wine, and a lovely language and football. Oh, you've caught me on the hop. Hang on, Sarah. I have a map in front of me. Just talk amongst yourselves, yeah. I'm not ashamed to say America, which is standing out at the moment. I think it might be America for a number of reasons. One, the culture is which is varied, is fascinating. The geography is endlessly fascinating, but also the power politics of it. Yeah, I mean, there was a book a few years ago, The Indispensable Nation, and to an extent it still remains that way. And I'm not making an argument for or against that, or for or against the USA, but I think it remains the indispensable nation. The dollar, for example, for all the problems in the world. I mean, there has been a move towards gold recently for reasons of COVID, but if you want to dive into something that you think safer, if you're in that investing world, I'm afraid that is still the bedrock of the system, and with that comes incredible power diplomatically, and of course their economic power underpins their military power. So the whole thing comes together, and I just think America, it's one of those countries that I think is actually quite misunderstood, and it's endlessly fascinating. Sorry, very long answer. Emma Caulfield Walters. Hi, Emma. Oh, hi, Tim. Oh, sorry. Yeah, hi again. Sorry. Forgot to tell you earlier that I earned my BA in Geography and Environmental Science from Sussex Uni. That's the one just above Brighton, isn't it? Just at the top of Brighton. How many countries, languages has your book been published in? And where is the one over your shoulder from? Oh, I didn't know that was there. Sorry. That's a good question. Prisons of Geography from memory, the grown-up one, about 20 countries. And my publishers will be currently shouting, but I can't hear them. I think this is in at least 12 languages. This, I'm glad you asked, in case you speak fluent Korean, is the Korean version. And I just happen to have here one I wrote earlier. No, that's the one in English. I happen to have here one I wrote earlier, And I've forgotten, I'm learning Italian, well, I'm trying to learn Italian at the moment for a driving trip I hopefully will make one day when all this is over. So I've forgotten the word for 12, but it's le 12 mappe che spiegano il mondo al ragazzi, which, as you can tell, is the Japanese version. I hope that's answered your question. Yeah, I think it's about 12. Elliot and Thompson are looking at one or two other places that have expressed an interest. Germany is one of them. The Germans have been very and welcomingly accepting of my books, and have published, I think, 3 of them. And in fact, Prisoners of Geography was a bestseller in Germany. And also France published Prisoners of Geography. Now, that's pretty rare. The French publishing sector published very few British factual books, very few, for various reasons. So I was quite honoured that that one was. John Simon. Hi, John. What is the most fundamental change in the world which would change a chapter of Prisoners of Geography if you wrote it today? I've got a stock phrase for that one, John, which is that the players on the stage, they do change, but the stage remains the same, more or less. The stage remains the same. So yes, 5 years on, I mean, I think you can pick up Prisoners of Geography now, and there may be a reference to a prime minister or a president that's no longer in power. I mean, the latest print obviously has got Trump in it. But even if that was the case, let's say Duterte in the Philippines, Duterte Harry, was no longer in power, it wouldn't change the fundamentals of that, because, as they said about American presidents come and go, but their interests remain. So there's that aspect to it, but that was just the preamble to give myself time to think the real answer. You might expect me to say COVID, and I wouldn't, because I do think COVID will change us, but I think it will change us in micro ways. Hopefully we will stop touching our faces as much. We'll learn to wash our hands more. Online shopping is probably going to be accelerated, and that's the real point for me at the geopolitical level. I've read article after article saying that COVID-19 is the world will never be the same, and I disagree. And I don't think the 1919 Spanish flu particularly changed the world. It accelerated it and helped us scientifically because of the things we learnt from it. But if you look at that, which killed anything between 50 and 100 million people, and then you look at what happened in the 1920s and the 1930s, let's say the rise of Hitler and the coming to power of the Nazis leading to the Second World War, what did that have to do with COVID-19? It had far more to do with the fall of the Ottoman Empire, Austrian-Hungarian Empire, had far more to do with the influence of Marxism as it came of age, and influenced people like, say, Rosa Luxemburg, and the German stab in the back theory from the First World War. All those things were already baked in, and history then unfolded as it did, not because of COVID-19. So at that wide geographic level, geopolitical level, sorry, I don't think COVID-19 changes things other than A, it magnifies events, and B, it accelerates them. And 2 examples. One is the supply chain. COVID-19 has exposed countries' weaknesses if they're too reliant on one particular country, in this case China, to get essentials from. And it's also exposed the weaknesses of the just-in-time delivery system. But those were already happening, but now it's been accelerated. And another one, the China-US rivalry, which is the great rivalry of the 21st century, that was already happening. It will continue to happen, but it's focused. And things like Huawei, the phone company, and 5G, it's caused the focus to be more laser-like. So yeah, if I rewrote it today, I would put those things in. I would update some of the climate change things. I would, without doubt, reference Black Lives Matter and the culture wars, which are now washing up here. I mean, but the culture wars were already being fought here as well. I just think now that it's all been accelerated. Sorry, that was a very long answer. Hannah Staniford again. Since writing Prisoners of Geography, do you think any of the countries you discuss have managed to overcome any of the challenges, issues you outline, or do you feel they are still and will always be constrained by the factors you discuss? I don't think any of them have. The Dutch, for example, are busy spending a lot of money looking at how to get high-tech walls to hold back the sea, while simultaneously working on how to reduce climate change emissions, but without any success. Bangladesh still faces the fact that the bottom third of its country may be increasingly flooded and be uninhabitable. No, I don't think any of them have, sadly. But you know, we've always struggled. We will always continue to struggle. It's the story of humanity. Will they be constrained by the factors you discuss? Yeah, most of them. But some of them will be alleviated. And an example is probably if AI could sort out desalination of water for free, you would then have abundant free water, which would then alleviate some of the tensions between India, Pakistan, Syria, Turkey, even Palestine, Israel, because one of the issues there is the aquifers underneath the West Bank. A lot of that water is diverted into Israel. So yeah, you can overcome that, but there will be other problems. There'll be different problems, and for example, you know, we may have a nuclear reduction arms treaty. The Russians and the Americans have just begun, because they've only got 8 months till the existing one runs out. Just begun a new debate. Well, let's hope they are reduced. But a new thing will arise, and it's a geographic issue. The space race. The arms in space race is accelerating, so that will factor in other geographic issues. For example, I'm pretty confident that most of the players will try to put satellites that will be able to shoot downwards, lasers that will be able to attempt to knock out hypersonic missiles, and that will all be based on geometry and geography. So there are always going to be these. Geography is never going to go away. It's just that the importance of some things wanes and others rise. Mary, greetings from Rochester, Minnesota, USA. Hello, Mary. Thank you very much for joining us. Leslie Burnett, what do you hope that younger readers will take from the book? An abiding interest in the world that they're in, which, to use a hackneyed phrase, is an increasingly interdependent world, which it is. I mean, I think globalization has probably peaked. I don't think it'll go that much into retreat, because I think the trade routes will remain, but we will remain interconnected, both through trade and through, well, I mean, Mary's just joined us from Minnesota, USA, for example. So I hope it gives them a framework of the world they live in and how the different things are connected. And also, no matter what job they go into in a professional sense, teaching, politics, many professions, if you have a good grasp of geography and the politics of geography, you will have a much better grasp of the world around you and what is going on in that world. So I'm hoping it provides one of the first of many different building blocks upon which you can then build your knowledge and grow. There were a couple more that came in. Do I have any pets? I'm very surprised we haven't seen either of them. I have 2 cats, Mo and Sushi, who was originally named after Aung San Suu Kyi, which turned into Sushi, which turned into the joke that she roars like sushi, raw sushi. She's now 16, so she's finding it increasingly hard to get up the steps and come into the corridor of power. And as anyone who does any writing at all knows, there's a magnet in most keyboards, and there's another one in the stomachs of most cats, and they are increasingly drawn towards each other, and it's activated when you press the keyboard, and it seems to the cat come, and then they sit on the keyboard, and depending on what sort of person you are, you then have like 20 minutes sort of just playing around with your mouse because you can't actually write anything. I'm sure that is an experience many of us have had. A couple more before we wrap it up. Where would you like to travel to after lockdown? Ellen Road, which is the home of Leeds United, where I am a season ticket holder, and I'm a away season ticket holder as well. And I spent a lot of my life there. I've been going there for more than 50 years, and it is it's painful not being able to go. Seriously, it's quite emotional. I remember the last home game, I knew we were heading for lockdown. All my mates were making fun of me, but I'd read the runes, and I was quite emotional. I stayed in the stadium for about 15 minutes at the end of the game when everyone disappeared, because I just took a big deep breath. Now I know that's pathetic, but there we are. But the real answer after Ellen Road is Italy. Love the place. Look forward to seeing it again. What did you do before writing this book? Wrote 5 others, and before that, 30 years as a television, 25 years as a TV news reporter correspondent. Before that, 10 years as radio. Actually, I must have started when I was about 10. Before that, in the forces. Before that, painter and decorator. And before that, occasionally I went to school, but not very much. Are there any more? Favourite country? I think we've done that, haven't we? Italy. Okay. Right, the last couple. Jane Chance's cat. Yep, it's got the magnets. It's got the magnets. My cat had magnets attracted to any newspaper or book I happened to be reading. Yeah, I think they do that as well, the newspaper magnets. There's a joke in there somewhere. Rupert Murdoch's a newspaper magnet, I believe. Mary Suller meows to Mo and Sushi from our kitties Henna and Shiraz. Back at you, Henna and Shiraz. I shall pass that on. Thank you very much. And do we have a last one? What have I been doing in lockdown? Cycling. Done a fair bit of cycling. Mending 2 different bikes and swapping handlebars and pedals and things around. I can't tell you how satisfying it is. Power washing the side return. Immense sense of satisfaction from doing that. And at that juncture, I'll say goodbye to Mary and her cats. Goodbye to Rochester, Minnesota. Hannah, John, Emma, Sarah, Yasmin, Forum Books, Katie, Carrie, Ian, Michael, Alice. I hope you're all still with us. And I'll say again, thank you to the 4 indie bookshops. It's really good of you to put this on, to give me this chance to display just what a terrible dad joke person I am. And with that, Langham's, Booker, Forum and Bookish, I'll thank you very much, and I'll say goodbye. Thank you.